What's going on in Washington with this impeachment junk?
Well, I think that it's a fabricating. I think that Congress is fabricating this and making it into an impeachment inquiry when it should not be. And I think that it will backfire massively. First of all, the American people are not on board with this. Trump has, as of today, according to the Real Clear Politics average, the same 45% approval he's been at for the last 2 or 3 months. And Rasmussen has him at 48%, and that's the most accurate of the polls. So there's been no diminution in his support. There is an increase in the number of people who want an impeachment investigation launched, but those are just people that oppose Trump anyway, who now are learning that the new word is impeach. I think that the Democrats are pushing this impeachment largely because their own districts are making them do it. I think that the Joe Crowley example of being defeated by an insurgent, Ortez Castro, is so significant to them, such a threat to them, that they are determined not to let anyone get to the left of them on impeachment, and therefore they're hell-bent for it. But the Republicans are not going to cave. There is going to be no support for impeachment in the Senate. And even though I think impeachment will probably pass the House with the unanimous Democratic Party, I think it will get no Republican votes anyplace. And the people will see this as partisanship. The Republicans won't crack, in part because of the facts, but in part because their base won't let them. Their base strongly supports Trump and opposes this, sees this as an attempt to steal an election. And as the impeachment calendar unfolds and goes into November, December, January, February, March, people are going to say, hey, wait a minute, we have an election coming up in 6 months. Why do we leave this up to the voters instead of trying to take them out of the equation and letting Congress adjudicate it? And I think the basic facts of the situation are very pro-Trump. Joe Biden told the Ukrainians, I'll give you $1 million if you fire the prosecutor who's going after my son. And Donald Trump is accused of telling Ukraine, I'll give you $300 million if you investigate that corruption against Joe Biden. Now, Trump didn't do that, but even if he did, it's the same as what Biden did. And all Trump is doing is asking them to investigate the corruption. Ever since the Bush administration, there's been a change in the U.S. foreign aid program, and the focus has shifted to an anti-corruption emphasis. And the U.S. dramatically cut its foreign aid to Pakistan, Nigeria, Congo, and a host of other countries, Kenya, because of corruption in those countries. And this is just pursuing that. When you learn there's corruption in the country, you withhold or cut back their foreign aid until they take steps to investigate it. And the mere fact that this corruption concerned the son of the vice president of the United States at the time, who now is running for president, should not confer an immunity on them, which is what the Democrats seem to want.
I mean, it just does seem like that if you're a Democrat in Washington, you're innocent, and if you're a Republican in Washington, you're guilty.
Yeah, well, look, the decision to impeach Donald Trump was made the minute the election returns were in 2016. And they first thought they could do it with a CIA media plot to fabricate the story that he was colluding with Putin to fix the election. When that was debunked, when their own special prosecutor said it was baloney, they've now latched on to this. And the whistleblower who brought this up is a CIA guy. He's a Brennan appointee, John Brennan, who was Obama's director of the CIA. This is the same crowd that had the Mueller report and the collusion story.
Let me ring a bell. Does that mean Brennan is still the orchestra leader?
Oh, yes, I believe so, and to a great extent, Obama. I think this is all a product of the CIA intelligence community resistance against Trump. It springs from the same source, and it's just as fabricated. It turned out that the phone call was not what they said it was. There was no quid pro quo. There was not even a promise made. And it turned out that the whistleblower report largely focuses not on the phone call, but on the efforts of the Trump administration to find out if Ukraine helped the Democrats in the 2016 election by digging up dirt on Paul Manafort. And if they did, that's as worthy of investigation as whether the Trump administration colluded with the Russians. It's the same deal. It ought to be investigated. And there's nothing wrong with the president asking the Ukrainian president, a new guy, for his assistance in that investigation.
All I say on this conversation so far, the one thing that you did say that rang a bell in my head, that this guy was hired by Brennan originally, an Obama appointee,
Yep.
and a bell went off and said, "Oh, Mr. Brennan is still the orchestra leader." And
yep, he sure is. He sure is. This is the same crowd bringing a similar set of accusations, and it's incredible. Come on, the Vice President of the United States is on tape as telling a foreign government, "You better clear my son, or I'm going to withhold $1 billion of foreign aid." And the only thing that Washington talks about is, "Oh my God, Trump is doing this for partisan motivations." How about the vice president, now the front runner, or almost the front runner for president in the Democratic primary, using his weight to try to shield his son from being investigated for corruption.
Wow.
Oh, and then
we
the
got a
Democrats
minute
are also
left.
saying- yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Morris, we got a minute left. What other big revelations can you give the American public this Sunday morning?
Well, I think the subtext of all of this is that Biden can't get nominated, which means Elizabeth Warren is going to be the Democratic nominee. And Trump is going to destroy her. He'll carry 35 or 40 states. And it'll be like McGovern in 72 all over again, or Goldwater in 64. And I think that the media, in pushing this phony narrative, has a double-edged sword. With one edge, they hope to kill Trump, and with the other edge, they hope to kill Biden by outing the story of the Ukraine so that they can clear the way for their darling Elizabeth Warren.
Wow. Dick Morris, thank you for calling in this Sunday morning, and
Great.
we'll talk to you again real soon.
Great. Bye.